Earlier, we shared a story involving the Waterloo Tyson meatpacking plant and how it's facing wrongful death lawsuits from the family members of employees who died as a result of contracting coronavirus. Well, 7 managers at that plant have been fired, and one of them is speaking out because he thinks it's important for everyone to know that they're not bad people. They're actually great people who are just trying to make the work environment fun, especially when they were taking bets on how many of their employees would get sick by contracting coronavirus. So former Tyson manager Don Merschbrock said managers conducted the office pool last spring within minutes following mass testing of the plant's roughly 2,800 workers. County officials said last May that more than 1,000 workers tested positive for the virus, which hospitalized several and killed at least 6. Now, the family members of 4 of the employees who had died are, suing in wrongful death suits. And Merschbrock says, no, I mean, we're not bad people. We're just trying to boost morale. This is his exact quote. He tells the Associated Press, it was a group of exhausted supervisors that had worked so hard and so smart to solve many unsolvable problems. It was simply something fun, kind of a morale boost for having put forth an incredible effort. There was never any malicious intent. It was never meant to disparage anyone. And just to give you some more details on what this pool entailed, again, it was a pool among managers at this meatpacking plant in Waterloo, Iowa. The office pool involved roughly $50 in cash, which went to the winner who picked the correct percentage of workers testing positive for the virus. He also added that those involved didn't believe the pool violated company policy and that the plant's positivity rate would be lower than the community rate due to their mitigation efforts. So let me just quickly mention what the mitigation efforts were. Based on the allegations in these lawsuits, there were none. The employees are alleging that they were told by their employers to ignore any symptoms that they may have as a result of contracting coronavirus. They were pressured to continue working, and they were, of course, packed into tight quarters as they were working with no social distancing. And again, the allegations include the fact that they didn't provide protective gear like masks to prevent contracting the virus. So those are the mitigation efforts that this former manager who's been fired from Tyson wants to point to.
So, guys, I don't want you to miss something really important in this story, which is Tyson trying to whitewash what's happening here by blaming the managers. So it doesn't mean the managers weren't guilty. And I mean, I don't mean that in a legal sense. I just mean it in a sense of moral culpability. No, you should not bet on how many of your workers are going to get sick. By the way, it turns out the correct number was 1,000. 1,000 of their workers got coronavirus. 6 died. So 4 of the deceased family members are suing now. And so Tyson, that manager said something important about how, just boosting morale, talking about how the workers are going to die and how many of them are going to get sick. It was fun for us managers. I don't think that's fun. And if that's what boosts morale for managers, that's pretty sick. Having said that, the real culpable people here is the company, because that manager says, look, they told us to solve this unsolvable problem. And on that, he's right. They say, okay, don't take precautions, shove them all back into a building where we know they're likely to get coronavirus. And then afterwards, we'll blame you guys for not getting enough production and having too many people get sick. But wait a minute, it was executives' decisions, not even the managers, but executives higher in the company that made that decision. So are they more culpable? Absolutely. And so in this particular case, what do? And this is what drives me crazy again about the press. They hire former Attorney General Eric Holder to do a whitewashing effort. And he says, yes, the managers are guilty, but the company's fine. Well, yeah, they paid him to say that. He's a lawyer. I get it. He has a job. His job is to help companies avoid lawsuits, etc. So Holder's doing his job, but the press should not give any weight to the fact that he's a former Attorney General. He was hired to whitewash. He whitewashed. And they make it all seem like, it's only the manager's fault. No, it's in this case, It's Tyson's fault for telling the managers, shove them back in there. Don't take the precautions. The only thing that matters is the bottom line. And then go, oh, golly gee, they made a bet. I can't believe they did that. It's only their fault and not our fault. Nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, look, the executives have more power and they really do call the shots. So you're right about that. I also think that there's one other group that should take at least some of the blame. And again, I'm not clearing the executives at Tyson of any wrongdoing at all. But remember, early on in the pandemic, one thing that was noticeable for people who would go to the grocery stores is that there was a shortage of meat. There was a shortage of all sorts of products because of how our supply chains work and because of the fact that we outsource the manufacturing of pretty much everything. But when it came to meat, we did experience some empty shelves. And in response to that, I mean, it feels like an eternity ago, but remember, the Trump administration forced meat packing plants to reopen. And that impacted the Waterloo plant as well. And Alex Azar, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, was quoted saying this at the time in regard to the risk of community spread of coronavirus. He said, "It's the workers' home and social lives that are spreading the virus." So what he was trying to do there is blame the workers and what they do during their free time, rather than blame these companies for not taking the appropriate measures to mitigate the spread of this virus. And of course, he and the Trump administration aren't going to take responsibility for forcing these companies and these meatpacking plants to reopen during a time of crisis without providing the PPE necessary. There was a shortage of PPE in the beginning of the pandemic because, of course, the administration didn't take it seriously. And in early February, Mike Pompeo even bragged about shipping PPE over to Wuhan. That tweet, by the way, is still up. And so there's plenty of blame to go around. And I don't want to clear the incompetence and the cruelty of the Trump administration in this case either.
Yeah, but the interests of the Trump administration and multinational corporations are the same. They fund Trump and the Republican Party, and in a sense, even Trump is just a water boy. When the business interests give them money and they say, do as you're told, Trump has said 1,000 times, why wouldn't I do what people tell me to do if they give me a lot of money? He said that about the Saudis. He said it 1,000 times. So they say, here, carry out this errand for me, water boy. And Azar does it. Trump does it. They all do it. And the bottom line is the bottom line. So Tyson wanted to make more money, and they didn't give a damn who got sick or who died. And so they now have a convenient fall guy in the managers who amply deserved it. But no way that you should let Tyson off the hook. And I'm curious if in the lawsuit they'll bring up how much Tyson has donated to politicians because that's how they control the politicians in the first place. So if you want to know why the politicians give them lax environment where they can brutalize their workers, it's not hard to figure out. It's the checks they write them.